Today, let's become genealogical detectives for a bit. We're going to piece together the life of a true American pioneer, a man named Marcus de Lafayette Shepard. We'll use family histories, official records, all the clues we can find to see how a life story really comes together. Okay, let's get into it.
So at the very heart of this story, we have these two people, Marcus de Lafayette Shepard and his wife, Harriet Editha Parrish. I mean, their lives are just woven through the biggest moments of the American West. We're talking pioneer migrations, the California Gold Rush, and literally building new towns out on the frontier.
Their journey together is just a story of incredible, almost unbelievable resilience. But, with any good family history search, the first question you got to ask is, where did it all start? How did these two people from two different families end up together on this epic adventure?
Well, their story doesn't start with just some chance meeting. No, it goes way deeper than that. It starts with a bond that was forged years and years earlier, in a community that was held together by faith and, frankly, a lot of shared hardship.
This right here, this is the bedrock of the whole story. This quote from a family biography tells us the Shepards and the Parrishes weren't just neighbors, they were close friends from way back in Nauvoo, Illinois. This friendship had already crossed hundreds of miles before Marcus and Harriet even thought about getting married.
So, Marcus comes back from this wild adventure in California, and we'll get to that in a second. And the first thing he does is go visit his old family friends, the Parrishes. And it was there that he saw their daughter, Harriet, all grown up. And as the story goes, he fell for her right then and there. He proposed, and she said yes.
And if you want a perfect snapshot of life on the frontier, this is it. They got married on March 9th, 1851. And just 5 days later, they packed everything they owned into a covered wagon and set off on this grueling 750-mile trip to start a new settlement in California. I mean, can you even imagine? Some honeymoon, huh?
But here's the thing. For Marcus, this wasn't some journey into the complete unknown. He'd actually been to California before. And what happened on that first trip is totally essential to understanding why he and his new bride would take on something so enormous. So let's just look at this timeline for a minute. When he was only 22, Marcus signs up for the Mormon Battalion and marches 2,000 miles to California. After his service, he doesn't just go home. He heads up to Sutter's Mill, right at the start of the gold rush. So when he finally gets back to Utah in 1849, he's not just carrying gold dust. He's carrying knowledge, experience, and this reputation as a guy who could get things done.
So you can see why, when the call came from Brigham Young to go build a settlement in Southern California, Marcus was a huge asset. He had exactly the experience they needed. So he, his new wife Harriet, and his whole family answered that call. They were all in.
But the journey was, believe it or not, the easy part. The real, back-breaking test came when they arrived. They had to build a city from nothing and create a colony that could actually support itself out there in the middle of nowhere.
And they hit the ground running. I mean, the work was immediate and just staggering. As soon as they got there, first thing they did was build a fort for protection. Then they all worked together to survey and plow one giant 1,300-acre grain field to feed everybody. After that, they built a road, by hand, into the mountains to get timber. This was city building from the ground up.
Okay, so the big picture looks amazing, right? A whole community is being built. But what was it actually like for Marcus and Harriet, day to day? Well, a page from the family history gives us a peek, and it's a much tougher, more personal story. And wow, this is where it gets real. This is the contrast. While they were building this incredible colony, their own personal reality was so incredibly hard. For the first 6 months, their home was the wagon they arrived in. And for years after that, it was a single room inside the fort, with a dirt floor, no door, and no window. So, after years of this incredibly hard work, the San Bernardino settlement was a huge success. The Shepards had built a good life, a prosperous life. But then, you know how these stories go. Events happening far away were about to change everything and force them to make an impossible choice.
So by 1857, Marcus and his family have a thriving farm, and they've even built themselves a beautiful new brick home. They'd made it, but this conflict, later called the Utah War, started brewing. The U.S. Army was marching toward Utah, and in response, Brigham Young recalled all the settlers from these outlying colonies, including San Bernardino.
And they answered the call. Once again, they packed up their lives. They landed in a little town called Beaver, Utah, in the middle of winter. And get this, the family history says they couldn't sell their beautiful home and farm in California. They just had to walk away from it all. Everything they had spent years building, gone.
Starting over again from nothing. You'd think Marcus would be absolutely crushed, but here's the amazing part of the story. The skills, the grit, and even the memories he brought back from California would directly shape the incredible new life he was about to build in Utah. And just look at this. This is the result. These are two of the homes that Marcus eventually built in Beaver. I mean, they're solid, beautiful buildings that just scream success. But there's a fascinating little detail in their design that calls all the way back to his past.
And this right here, this is the connection. The family historian, his granddaughter, states it so plainly. She believed the reason his Utah property was so beautiful was because of the lovely estates he had seen in California. He was literally carrying a picture of California in his head and rebuilding it in this new place. He never really left it behind.
And he didn't just build homes, he built a community. I mean, look at this resume. He became a church leader, started a farm, a sawmill, a dairy, and for 9 straight years, he used his old trail skills to make the long haul back to San Diego to bring goods to Utah. All those hard-won skills from the frontier made him a respected leader in his new home.
And that really brings everything full circle, doesn't it? No single document could have told us this story. It's only when you start weaving together the military records, the church callings, those personal family quotes, that's when the full, rich, and complicated journey of a life like Marcus Shepard's really comes into focus.
You know, the story of Marcus Shepard is epic, but it's a powerful reminder that history is really just a collection of personal stories. It makes you wonder, right? Every family has its own migrations, its own challenges, its own stories of building something new. What's the great journey hiding in your family's past?